and gentlemen, turn your speakers up. It's time for the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. Turn up the bass. A podcast discussing all things AEW and WWE. Oh yeah! Let's meet the hosts. First, a man hailing from the hub city in Indiana. He goes by @TooSweetKyle on Twitter. The host, Kyle Gagliardi. And your co-host, hailing from the valley of Lake Tahoe. He goes by @JimTuck89 on Twitter. Jim Tucker. And last but not least, hailing from the cornfield somewhere in Indiana, the full-time part-timer, Ian Garavaglia. Turn up the bass. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram @PodOnTheMark.
What is going on, everyone? You're listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, hosted by the Marks, for the Marks, and I am your host, Mr. OTM, Kyle Gagliardi.
We have a laggy Kyle
It's a hot
on
start.
the intro.
Yeah, that's a hot start right there, people. Of course, the show, we have somebody lined up for an interview here at 8:30 Central our time is when my internet decides to shit the bed. But Ian, how the hell are you doing? I didn't get a chance to properly introduce you.
Man, I am currently, all week I've been on autopilot. Work is sucking right now, but I'm enjoying wrestling, and I cannot wait for tomorrow because we have a great interview lined up with Steve from the Warrior Wrestling. For those that don't know, this is going to be a wonderful interview. But before we do that, we have to talk about AEW, my favorite company.
Yeah, we do. We got a lot to talk about this evening. AEW Revolution, of course, happening this Sunday. But we got a lot of things coming up for ourselves. Of course, tomorrow we will be in attendance for Warrior Wrestling, which we'll be spending the back half of this episode talking about with Steve. And then on Saturday, I'm going to be making a road trip down to Indianapolis for GCW, sitting second row. And then I get to come back on Sunday and sit down, relax, and watch AEW Revolution. But speaking of Revolution, Ian, if you go to the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com this weekend and you use promo code REVOLUTION, you will save 10% off your order. You can't get one of these great Warrior Wrestling t-shirts on that website, Ian, but you can get some great OTM merch.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. Honorary Mark shirt, obviously, it's probably, I'd imagine it's still our number one seller. And I don't know if our winter collection is still in the shop at the moment. You could correct me if I'm wrong.
I think I might have archived it. It'll return probably next winter.
It'll be back. But a bunch of stuff you get on there. Brian Danielson appreciation shirt. You could rep that for Revolution. Won't come in time, sadly. But yeah, bunch of stuff on there. Hopefully some more t-shirt designs and more hoodie designs. Plus we have the Main Event Wrestling Network sweaters, hoodie, crew neck. I love it. It's a clean design. We actually have our very own Ryan Bogus repping that in the gym. He did last night, sent a couple pictures. So acknowledge him.
Gotta acknowledge Bogus repping the retro main event gear, so you can get that. Just follow Main Event Wrestling Network at @mainevent_net. But enough of the chit chat. We're on a time crunch here. Like I said, 8:30 is when we are tagging in Steve. So let's get into the AEW Revolution card. I'm leaving off the All-Star Scramble or whatever the hell they're calling it. It was supposed to be Meat Madness. I'm not sure what happened. Was it injuries? They said that they had to switch things around.
It was one guy got an injury. I'm not sure who it was because the other,
maybe.
I think it was Hobbs. Yes, because the other two, Brian Cage and Lance Archer, are still in this match. So
that's what I was confused about.
It's weird canceling that match just for, like, why not put in Miro or something?
Yeah,
and
what's
do a triple
he doing?
threat. Yeah, there was no storyline behind the match anyway. It's Tony Khan.
We don't want to talk about it. Let's just get to the matches that we know are going to be happening, like FTR versus the BCCs, John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli. Obviously, Bryan Danielson has his own battles against Eddie Kingston later on at Revolution, so this is not going to be a six-man. But we have two very credible tag teams here. How do you see this one shaking out, Ian?
This is one of those matches that AEW throws out there that it has almost, it's got a story behind it. They've been feuding a little bit, but just in the ring kind of thing. And it hasn't been like a heartfelt feud that I could dive into. It's just kind of whatever I see every single week on Dynamite or Collision. So I don't really have any idea of where the story is going. So it's kind of a 50-50 shot. I mean, really, when you think about it, FTR has kind of fallen cold. And Mox and Claudio has always been the fall guys for people like that. So I'm going to go with FTR here. I'm excited for the match. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They've been doing some great things on Dynamite. Although last night's Dynamite, I texted it, and I'm a big AEW guy, but last night's Dynamite was clunky and just felt till the last second.
I didn't think it was as bad as you kind of made it seem, but I have said in multiple text messages that we've exchanged that the last 2 or 3 months, I really haven't been into AEW that much. But the one thing we do always say on these shows, Ian, is that usually they get it right at the pay-per-view. So I know this is one of those matches that is definitely going to be good. And shout out to Dirk Vogus. He's stopping by tonight. He said, good evening, boys.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Vogus. Thanks for stopping by, as always. But, yeah, I think I got to go with FTR as well. I don't really have good reasoning. Like you said, there really isn't much to it. They kind of just have been having matches with, different members of their groups. So that's kind of how we've gotten to this point. But I definitely think FTR needs a little bit of momentum. Ever since they dropped the titles, really don't know what they've done with them. They kind of just been floating. So I'm going to go with FTR to pick up the win here. So we got a lot of matches to talk about, so we're going to crank through some of these. But this one I'm very much looking forward to, Ian. We got the all-elite debut, I guess we could say, of Will Ospreay, because we've seen him in AEW before, but now he's actually an official member of the roster, taking on Konosuke Takeshita. And I think this one's fairly obvious. I think you might agree with me. Even though this could be a match of the year candidate, I think everybody could see that happening. I believe Will Ospreay has to come out on top. He just got here to the States. He's going to be a full-time member. It's unfortunate to see what happened to Takeshita. He got a couple big wins over Chris Jericho months ago, but they really didn't do anything after that. So I don't know if this kills his momentum, but for me, I think it's got to be the Billy Goat.
I honestly don't think this kills his momentum. I think if they played their cards right with this feud, and I agree, Ospreay, I think, has to win here. I don't think there's any. I mean, they could always come out with a out of right field Takeshita win, and I'm not going to complain about it because it's going to be an incredible match, and he's a formidable opponent to Will Ospreay. I mean, just the face-off alone, Takeshita's new look kind of looks like a samurai with his trench coat and everything. He looks like a main event guy. Again, incredible in the ring. But I think what they could do from here is Ospreay could obviously pick up this win and almost bringing Don Callis more over to his side. I mean, Takeshita has been his GOAT, Don Callis' GOAT from day one since he came to the company when he made that heel turn. So maybe bringing Will Ospreay, taking Don Callis' eyes to the prize with Will Ospreay, maybe could get some, I don't know, a longer feud going, and maybe the family breaks apart just because Takeshita gets jealous of Will Ospreay's attention.
Yeah, I don't see Will being a heel in his beginning stages here as a full-time member of the roster. I just don't think that's the right move. I think everybody in the crowd's going to be behind him. So I think winning over a heel like Takeshita, maybe Ospreay after that win says, I don't want anything to do with you, Don Callis. And Don Callis and the family still keep going after him to bide some time until he gets put into the main event scene. Because I think you would agree with me, it seems inevitable that Will Ospreay will probably main event at Wembley.
Yeah, he told us that. He straight up told us that in one of his promos that his journey is to main event All In Wembley. So yeah, it's writing on the wall. We know it's going to happen.
Right. So it seems obvious, but we both are going to go with Will Ospreay to defeat Takeshita. Let's move on to another interesting matchup. This, of course, for the TNT title. Our father, Christian Cage, the champion, taking on the man with the gyrating hips, Daniel Garcia, who has been on quite the roll as of late, doing some really good stuff on AEW Collision. Before you give me your pick, Ian, talk to me a little bit about what you thought about this rise of Daniel Garcia.
It's been organic and natural. It reminds me of Ricky Starks and his rise. Obviously, He's fallen since then. I mean, you could argue that he hasn't. He's got tag team gold around his waist, but I think Daniel Garcia. I'll just say my prediction now. I think Daniel Garcia is our new champ. I think this is a time to capitalize. I hope it's a time to capitalize, and I hope Tony Khan has learned his lesson. When you have a star in the making, and he's pretty much made. He's been over to New Japan. He's shown off what he could do in AEW in New Japan. And I think it's time for him to carry a title. He has a new look. He has a new intro, new Titantron. The music is amazing. His entrances are amazing, and he's entertaining. And he could cut promos, which we found out. Why not? I mean, I would not hate to see Daniel Garcia get into the title scene. You have Christian Cage. He doesn't need to have that title. He doesn't need to be around there. He still has Edge, who he just put off he took him out of this title match.
For the foreseeable future, yeah.
So I think there's always that to fall back on. Give Daniel Garcia the strap. Let's see what he can do with it.
You're kind of convincing me.
Good.
I mean, I was dead set on Christian Cage this entire time, but your reasonings for Daniel Garcia make a lot of sense, and I agree with you for the most part. I think what Daniel Garcia is doing right now is fantastic work. We're getting the sports entertainer version of Daniel Garcia right now. And like we reiterate numerous times, we are storyline people, character-driven guys that enjoy somebody that they can get emotionally invested into. And not only can you get emotionally invested into Christian Cage because you want to punch his teeth down his throat, you also can get behind Daniel Garcia because he's always just got the moves. He's feeling himself out there, and it's hard not to get behind a guy like that. But all that being said, I'm going to keep it with Christian Cage. The whole Adam Copeland stuff confuses me because I still in my brain think that Adam Copeland has to take that title away from Christian. And maybe that's just the wrong way of thinking, but for me, that's the way I see it, Ian.
I see. I get it, but I don't think it needs to have that title. That title doesn't really mean anything. The biggest thing about this feud is the almost sibling rivalry, their best friend rivalry. Yeah. And now Christian Cage is on top and has been a main staple of AEW. And I think just Copeland wants to take away that position and show that he's still the better guy, better wrestler. So I think that's where it lies more in. But I completely understand.
My only worry is if Daniel Garcia does lose here, what's next?
Exactly.
And I don't know the answer to that question. So that's why I'm hesitant to take Christian Cage, but I'm still going to stick to it. I doubt we have AEW predictions contests. It seems like the contests are going to be put on the back burner, put in the archives, I guess we could say, until Tucky's back full time. He's just getting into baseball season. So he's the guy that does all that good work, and we just sit here and talk.
It's bragging rights. It'll be bragging rights.
It is bragging rights. I don't know. Are you still the AEW champion, or is that somebody else?
I think it's either Vogus or Tuck. Definitely ain't me.
This is how long it's been since
it's been a while.
We talked about it, yeah. We used to care about titles around here, but maybe it'll come back to life, just like our discard, RIP.
No, that's dead.
Definitely. Let's move on here. International, that's the title, right?
Mm-hmm.
I almost called it the Intercontinental Championship. It is not. It is the International Championship held by freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy taking on Roderick Strong of the United Kingdom. This was a matchup that we got announced 8 weeks ago, it seemed like. Actually, that might be on the dot. I think it happened a long time ago, and I was questioning why they announced it so soon. And I'm still a little confused on why they did, because the last couple of weeks, they really didn't do much with the Undisputed Kingdom and Orange Cassidy until this week, the week of Revolution. So I wish they could have done a better build to this one. But Ian, for me, I think it's got to be Roderick Strong. I think the Undisputed Kingdom needs some credibility. They need a belt in that faction. And I think you might be agreeing with me on this one.
Yeah, if there's any guy to take it from Cassidy, honestly, I thought Cassidy was going to lose the strap this week. I thought there was a shot that he could have lost the strap this week until the interference came in. Oh, that's a great question.
I don't remember. How do you not remember? You're like, I thought he was going to lose this week.
That's a good question. I'll get back to you on that. But it was up until the interference, and then I understood what was going on. I mean, they've been throwing themselves into Cassidy's title defenses, and it hasn't been working. Obviously, this faction sucks. I'm gonna say right now, Wardlow is the biggest guy. I mean, literally the biggest guy, but he seems like the biggest talent and the most credible to win any title right now. The rest of them just kind of sound like they've been acting like seagulls in feuds, and it just does not make any sense. Yeah, it does not make any sense to me, and I don't understand it. I don't know. This faction has fallen flat to me, but if they don't win the title here, then they're dead completely. Yeah, so Roderick Strong somehow revive that faction.
I didn't expect that out of you, for you to say that the Undisputed Kingdom's not working for you.
I liked the reveal, and then it's felt like shit ever since.
And we like the people for the most part, too, in the
Yes, exactly.
They need Adam Cole healthy. That's what it is, man. You can't have a leader not be there. It's not the same. It's like when Ali wasn't leading Retribution, you know? I'm sorry to bring that up on this show. Ali, if you're watching this, I apologize, my friend. I will see you tomorrow night, and I will shake your hand and apologize. But we are going to go with Roderick Strong to become the brand new international champion here, which, by the way, Orange Cassidy's, I think, one of those bright spots in AEW where you know what you're going to get every single time he goes out there, and it does not matter who the opponent is. He just seems to make it work.
He is AEW's workhorse. And it's funny, like the entire public view of Orange Cassidy since the beginning of AEW has swapped tremendously. He used to be a joke. No one used to like him at all. Everyone thought he was too gimmicky. Look at him now. He has not changed really at all. He's slowed down his gimmick work a little bit, but
correct.
I mean, thinking back to Forbidden Door, the Forbidden Door he went to, I think he faced off again. I think it was against Will Ospreay.
It was, yeah.
And that was the switch he needed. He locked into that more hardcore side of him, the work rate that he has kept up ever since. And this guy has not had a vacation since. So
he has not, and he deserves one because, like you said, definitely a workhorse of AEW. We love freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, but we're gonna go with Roderick Strong to become the new champion. But will we get a new champion here? I don't even know what it's called. It's a crown of some sorts that has 3 titles involved in it. But Eddie Kingston is the champion, and he is facing off against who we believe is the best technical wrestler on planet Earth right now, Bryan Danielson. And Ian, before you give me your pick, we have discussed in the past how we see Bryan Danielson as a guy that's there to just put people over and not win titles. Do you think it would be beneficial for them to surprise us here and surprise the smart marks and maybe put the straps on Bryan Danielson?
So, being a smart mark and going through all the titles I think are going to swap hands, I don't think it should happen, having 3 title swaps in one day, in one night. I really don't. Like I said, I keep leaning back to Bryan Danielson coming to AEW just to wrestle everybody, good wrestlers. And that's immediately where my mind goes here. I think Eddie Kingston has done a formidable job. He's done a decent job ever since winning the title. The crowd still loves him, still gets incredible pops, especially last night. People love Eddie Kingston. I would like to see a surprise, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to go Kingston.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see it too. I just think maybe one title run with Danielson just to see how it goes.
I think it needs to mean something, though. I don't think it should just be a win of a title. It needs to be a feud win.
And it's probably not the right, championships for Bryan to first win in AEW, just because they're so new. Like I think you want to establish Eddie Kingston as a formidable champion and have him have a reign for 4 to 6 months. And then he drops the crown to some other workhorse because Eddie is a workhorse in himself. But, as much as I want Bryan Danielson to win, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to go with Eddie Kingston to retain. And I'll tell you what, it definitely could be the match of the night. And, when you look up and down this card, it does look like a really strong one.
Yeah, the crowd or this card is incredibly strong, especially wrestling-wise. It's the build-ups, which is usually what we see with AEW. At the end of the pay-per-views, we're like, holy shit, that was awesome. But leading up to it, it's usually an excitement level of like 6, maybe.
I'm at like a 5 right now for Revolution.
I was gonna say I'm gonna ask you Sunday morning after all your driving and wrestling shows how excited you are to watch War. I know.
I tell you what, I'm a 10 out of 10 for Warrior. I'm a 9.5 out of 10 for GCW, and I'm at a 5 out of 10 for Revolution. Make it make sense, people. The indies are great. That's how it makes sense. But yeah, so we're both going with Kingston, correct?
Correct.
I mean, just look at those last 4 matches we're going to talk about. That one we just did, the Women's Championship, the tag team championship, and then, of course, the world heavyweight title. But let's jump to the women's championship match as Timeless Toni Storm is looking to defend her AEW women's title against the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo. Ian, what do we think on this one? Because I think it's probably a 50-50 shot here.
You know, I keep saying the title's going to swap hands, and I think it's going to happen again. I think Purrazzo is going to be a new champ. And the reason I say this is if Purrazzo loses and it's a clean win for Toni Storm, again, we always say it, but what's next? She's new into the company. Yeah, I guess. But
big business is 2 weeks away.
I think it would only be huge if Toni Storm was to retain the title and Monet comes in. Otherwise, Purrazzo facing off against Monet, cool. That's cool. But like at the same time, it's like AEW fans, we know Toni Storm and we want to see Monet versus our champ by the end of the night.
Yeah.
Purrazzo, it's like she's new into the company. It'd be cool, I guess. So I didn't even think about Monet. Yeah, I am flopping. I'm going back to Toni Storm retaining. I don't know what they're going to do with Purrazzo. I'm sorry.
I hope and I don't think she becomes what not Lyra. I'm blanking on John Morrison's
Tyra Valkyrie.
Tyra Valkyria. Her and Valkyrie. Lyra Valkyria. I mean, it's Valkyrie, and they're getting me mixed up. People, like I said, I'm not a huge AEW mark, but I am a big fan of Toni Storm and what she is doing, and I think that's the direction we are going. We know big business is March 13th. And we know who Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Moné, is. And we know what she brings to the table. If you were to have Deonna Purrazzo win and do a feud with Mercedes Moné, it could be good, but I don't know where the beef starts. With Toni Storm, you can have a feud with anybody with that character.
Yeah, I know we're limited on time, but I just want to say this really quickly. Purrazzo, I think the picture perfect situation with this match is it's a disqualification. The title does not change hands. This feud goes on to big business, finishes there. That's when Monet comes. Because I don't think the Monet match happens at big business. I think she comes into the company then.
No.
So
I think she just makes an appearance too.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's what happens. Picture perfect, but I'm going to say Toni Storm wins.
Yeah, me as well. So we're both going with Timeless Toni in the Women's Championship. And then we got what I think actually might be the main event of this show. And it should be. It is Sting's final match. Sting is stepping away from the business after this one as he and Darby look to defend their AEW tag team titles in tornado tag action against Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, the EVPs of AEW. And, you know, the build up to this has been surprisingly good in my opinion. At first, when I found out the Young Bucks were going to be the ones to face off against Sting, I was kind of questioning everything, why them, but now it's all starting to make sense. And the pure emotion we got out of Sting a couple weeks ago in that backstage promo, he just recently had his father pass away. The Bucks laid their hands on his kids. It's getting personal, and I think that's what makes this match even more intriguing. But as most of the greats do, they go out with their shoulders down on the mat. And I think that is the best way to do this match. You have the EVPs, these dirty heels, Matthew and Nicholas, they get the titles. They can do corporate stuff with the titles, and I think it'll be very entertaining. And you stack up a bunch of babyface tag teams, Top Flight, Private Party, who they're starting to reheat up, I should say, once again, I think are guys that could be in line for those titles if the Jacksons were to win. And I do think Matthew and Nicholas are going to win here, Ian.
Honestly, I think this is one of those moments, Sting and Darby, this is when a guy going out the door wins. I think it's a credible win, and this is the one time I'm going to say I'm okay with them just dropping the titles, letting Sting walk away after they win and saying, these are anybody else's now. I think there is a story to be told with that. I think the Jacksons could rig a tournament of some sort. We have so much talent in the tag team division. Throw a tag team tournament together. Jacksons get to the finals by literally telling people to lay down for them. Let us get to the finals. I think there's something to be told with that. I think this is the one time where it truly feels like an incredible retirement match is about to happen, and everybody's going to be sad. Like, genuinely.
Yeah.
This is the one time Sting, I do think he needs to come out on top.
I'll tell you what, too, him coming down from the rafters last night on AEW Dynamite
chills.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And we're very critical of AEW, as we are with WWE. But when AEW does things right, it's great stuff. It really is. And I love that little nostalgia right before his final match on his last Dynamite. Just beautiful stuff there. But for me, it's got to be the Jacksons, Matthew and Nicholas, walking out as tag team champions. But Ian is going to go against me, and he's going with Sting and Darby to win and then relinquish their titles, correct?
Yep, correct.
Who would be your pick to eventually get those titles if you were booking?
Well, it's got to be the Jacksons. I don't think Jacksons
then
need to...
Why don't they just win?
No, I think this is a moment where Sting deserves a victory on his way out. Truly.
But why?
It's a feel-good moment. There's no other reason than it's a feel-good moment. And like I said, I don't think there would be a lot of hate if they just relinquish the titles after they win. Because everyone knows Sting's done. He's done after this match. And a lot of people already think the Jacksons are going to take the titles away.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm leaning to.
Maybe eventually down the line, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson bring in Jakara Jackson from NXT and create the Jackson family. And we can even get the Jackson 5. We got to fight.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was going to say. Well, there's the Michael Jackson independent wrestler.
There is.
What is it? Santana Jackson?
Santana Jackson, yeah.
We got 4.
Santana Jackson, Matthew Jackson, Nicholas Jackson, Jakara Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be... Oh, no. Who's... Ezekiel... No, it wasn't Ezekiel Jackson.
That's an actor, I think.
No, I'm thinking of the big African American guy that was in the mid card in like the 2010s.
Oh, I don't
it
know.
was Ezekiel Jackson.
Was it really?
Ezekiel Jackson.
Bring it back.
Where we go? The Jackson 5 coming to a Warrior show near you. Just kidding, Steve. I know he's not down there yet, but he's gonna pop in there very soon. So we do have one more match to talk about before we bring in Steve, and it is for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, the champion right now being Samoa Joe, with the 2 challengers being Hangman Page, who faked an injury last night on Dynamite, and Swerve Strickland, who has a lot of momentum behind him right now. Ian, a lot of people are clamoring for Swerve Strickland to become AEW champion. Is that going to happen here at AEW Revolution?
This one's really hard to say because you still have Double or Nothing later on, and you still have some feud with Hangman and Swerve, and I think they could keep it going. And I don't think Joe has had enough time with the title. And like I said, I don't think this should be the main event. I think Sting retaining those titles will be the main event. I think that's a feel-good moment to end on. So I'm going to go with Joe to retain.
What's your confidence level on that? Like 1 through 10?
My answer is kind of a question. I don't know if you heard that. So about a 3.
Oh.
It literally is a 33% chance for every single person. I could see every single guy winning this title. Build up Hangman as a heel. Give Swerve the easy title victory and the easy. It's going to be incredible when he has a title. And Joe, I don't think he's had it for too long and hasn't had a good time to sink his teeth into anything.
Yeah, you make a good point. It's one of those matches where you could definitely see the paths of the champion post AEW Revolution. Like if Hangman wins, you kind of have a corporate elite forming. Mm-hmm. If the Jacksons were to be successful and win the tag team titles, you throw Hangman in there as like an associate. That's something. And then you can have Swerve still feud with Hangman going forward. Swerve winning makes all the sense in the world. That might be the biggest duh if he ends up winning because he is the hottest wrestler right now. Arguably, I won't say arguably because Cody's over more, but definitely the hottest in AEW, I think we can say. But, mentioning Cody, though, it makes me think, just like with Cody, we had to wait a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Make the people want more. Make them get behind Swerve even more. And that's why I don't see Swerve Strickland winning the title here at Revolution. There are rumors of AEW potentially adding another pay-per-view, and I think it's to the month of April. So I'm very curious on what that pay-per-view could be. But we do know they do a lot of big shows on Wednesday nights as well, like the Stadium Series and the Arthur Ashe, they go do a lot of unique venues that they could have Swerve win the title, because a lot of people would probably say, hey, Swerve needs a win in front of a lot of people. I don't know if he necessarily does, and I don't think Revolution's the right time. I think you got to let them want more, Ian.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And as much as I hate to say that, I completely agree. And also in the same tone, even if he does not win this match, he still has the driving factor. I mean, he hasn't even brought it up yet. He could, and I mean, he's brought it up, but like very vaguely. He could be the first African-American AEW champ.
Yeah.
No matter what, you cannot take that away from him. A lot of people are going to want that to happen, because I think this is one of the times that, like, he is a star big enough to really capture the moment and carry that history onward. So I think he'll have enough momentum no matter what happens here.
Yeah, and you said a thing about Joe, that he might need more time. I think he does need more time as champion, because honestly, look at Samoa Joe. He's a credible looking champion. He's a badass dude, and he always puts on a good show. Let Joe eat for a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just let Joe cook, because Samoa Joe might be one of the, and I don't mean this in a negative way, the safest options on that AEW roster.
Absolutely.
Like, go do that. It's going to succeed. Anything, Samoa Joe can do it. He's the jack of all trades, similar to Kevin Owens.
No, and the thing too with Joe retaining is like he hasn't been really in this feud. The title just happens to be there, and Joe happens to be the guy with that title. Right now, it kind of feels like a bunch of kids fighting around him for a toy that he has and just wants to hold on to it. That's kind of the feeling I get from it. Yeah, it's a very expensive toy, but the feud hasn't really involved him at all. It just happens to involve the thing that he's holding, which that's not Joe.
Good point.
That's not Joe at all with his feuds that we've seen before.
I'm actually surprised you went with Samoa Joe as well. I thought you were going to go Swerve. I thought you were going to, I feel like everybody's just falling for it.
I was going to say, I already said like 4 title changes throughout the show, so I gotta have one retained in there somewhere.
Speaking of titles, though, one that's not on the line is the TBS Championship. I don't think they've done really anything with Julia Hart lately, which is disappointing, because she was very hot for the time being, and now she's just interfering in Sky Blue's matches.
Well, I was going to say, I think it was a mistake in the first place, having Julia Hart basically hold her hand after just winning the title, holding Sky Blue's hand after just winning the title. Now it takes so much attention away from her and the new title.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like she even has it anymore, and it's fallen in the background. But we did see last night, we saw Sky Blue defeat Chris Statlander, so maybe in the future, it could be Julia Hart and Sky Blue facing each other in like a friendly kind of manner.
Yeah, that's something I could see, and it's nice to see Sky Blue kind of find her footing in AEW. For a while, especially while she was working face. There really wasn't an identity, and I think you could still argue that there really isn't an identity, but at least she's associated with Julia, which I think adds credibility. And the way she presents herself on TV, like, she seems like a bad girl. It's a girl I want to boo.
Yeah, exactly. And other than that, though, it's almost felt forced upon me. I'm trying to enjoy the entire feud, trying to enjoy Sky Blues, because I think the thing that AEW fans fall into, I guess, should be ashamed of is they like a wrestler because they're really good at wrestling, and then as soon as they get popular, as soon as they try to develop that character that they really didn't have other than being a good wrestler, they fall away. The exception to that was Swerve. Swerve was building his character while showing he was good in the ring, and I think that's why Swerve was kind of a shot in the dark, per se.
Swerve, man, when his time comes, it's going to be a big moment. And I'm warning people right now, because I really don't think Swerve's going to win. It's okay if he doesn't win. It's not the end of the world if Swerve Strickland does not win that title at Revolution. Just let the story play out. Good things could happen. And you never know who's going to show up, because after that, to challenge for the title, you still got Adam Cole that's out. MJF is out. Wardlow has cut a promo a couple weeks ago saying he's going for the title. So Joe better watch his back if he does retain, because he's going to have a lot more challengers. But Ian, do you plan on watching Revolution live on Sunday?
I do plan on it. Work the next morning is going to be rough, but I know you invited a house party over for that. Work's been rough. So I'm trying to get as much sleep as possible. I'm probably going to cash in the middle of the main event, let's be honest. I'll watch it back the next day, obviously.
Let's just hope it doesn't run super late. I mean, recently I feel like AEW pay-per-views, they've kind of gotten a little bit smaller. They've, done less matches, but the pacing just needs to be there because that WWE Elimination Chamber show, even though it started early, it was short to the point, and they got in and they got out, and it was entertaining as hell.
Exactly.
We got one more comment here from Jeremy Tillema, the head of the referees at Warrior Wrestling. He said, give Swerve time. He's the guy. And it's hard to disagree with him. I don't know how much more time you give him. I think you kind of want to strike maybe in the summertime, and then, hell, you could do Swerve versus Will Ospreay at Wembley Stadium at All In. I think that's a money match.
Yeah, you could throw Swerve into anything for a title, and the crowd is going to be a fan of him. And literally, I'm glad you did say the Cody chase, because it could play out like a Cody chase in the fact that the fans won't give up on him no matter what. I mean, the guy is still a heel, but the people love him, so it doesn't make any sense. That's AEW, though. No.
He's too cool. Yeah, everybody wants to be like Swerve, but hey, we're both going with Samoa Joe to retain his AEW World title, which concludes our AEW Revolution predictions. But ladies and gentlemen, trouble is most definitely brewing. And when we get back from this commercial break, we are going to be joined by our special guest from Warrior Wrestling. See you.
What's everybody saying about the On The Mark podcast?
It's just insane, and I love it.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
Unlike any other.
It's a great show.
We'll be right back after a brief intermission.
Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, trouble is brewing. The man of the hour has arrived. Steve, how the hell are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Can't complain, man. Hey, I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. We got a big card on our hands.
Yeah, we're excited about it. I just got back from dinner with one of the talents, who I will not disclose. Maybe after the show we can talk about it. But yeah, we're really excited. Everybody on the Warrior side, everybody at Revolution Brewing. It's going to be a really special, really unique event.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I believe you got 6 matches on the card, correct?
That's correct.
Short and sweet. I love it. So, our first experience with Warrior Wrestling was actually in 2020 when you guys were doing the Stadium Series shows, which I thought, even though it was a wild time, it was crazy times for all of us, that you guys ran it very well. And at that moment, we were hooked. And I just kept going to shows. We got to know Jeremy, who is one of the referees at Warrior. And I'm kind of curious because I don't think I've ever gotten to hear the origin story of Warrior Wrestling. So when did you guys actually start doing shows, and what inspired you to get involved into this crazy world that we love?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in 2017-ish, I was really interested in trying to get involved in indie wrestling. My buddy Eric and I had run sketch and improv comedy for years. We ran a small comedy company that kind of toured around and did stuff. And we were looking to get involved. We loved wrestling as well. We're like, let's try to get involved. Let's see what we can do. And so we talked to some local promotions about maybe getting involved and helping out. Nothing really panned out. And then we were actually at a Notre Dame football game. It was Notre Dame Navy. And we're walking through campus, and Eric goes, dude, you got to do this on your own, and you should do it at the school where I was the principal of a high school. And I was like, interesting, because I didn't really care about making money. I just wanted to do this. I wanted to create. I wanted to produce. I wanted to put things out there. And so I talked to the president of our school, and I said, hey, I've got this crazy idea. What if, as a fundraiser next spring, would you let me build a pro wrestling show? And we'll do it. All the money goes back to the school, right, from ticket sales, parking, beer, food, all that. I just want to do it. And he gave me his blessing. And so the very first Warrior Wrestling show, Warrior 1 in 2018, was a fundraiser for Marian Catholic High School. And we did that for the next year. The first 5 or 6 were all fundraisers for the school. They were school events. And then eventually we decided we were going to spin it off and become an actual company, an LLC. And so we became a separate business, a separate company. We would still go back to the school and do fundraiser shows at the school, but we also took it on tour and did other venues in Chicago. Then we went to South Bend, we went to Grand Rapids, we went to Indianapolis, we went to St. Louis, and it just kind of became a thing. But it started as a fundraiser for the school because that was the best avenue for us to get it off the ground.
And that's crazy too. That basically, Steve, you are living every child's dream. And I mean, WWE just came out with you could book your own shows and run your own company, and I love it. But now you are literally living everybody's dream. But I think it's just honestly incredible because we've seen the growth that it's been through. We've seen the first shows that Gags was talking about, and me being both of us being Northwest Indiana guys, and me loving IPAs, I just love how it was almost like a heavenly match between Revolution Brewery and you guys. And I just want to ask, what made this connection between you guys and Revolution Brewery such a easy pairing? And I feel like it really is a match made in heaven.
Yeah, so do we. So we were looking all throughout last summer and fall to find some sponsors or people to partner with. And we started having conversations with the head of marketing at Revolution, who, of course, is a diehard wrestling fan. He's from Pittsburgh. He was there in '98 for King of the Ring with Foley and Undertaker and Hell in a Cell, and he has his ticket still. And so we're talking about sponsorship, and we were kicking around different ideas. Were they going to sponsor a show? Were we going to do some type of advertising thing? And we're at the tap room having some beers, talking things out. We had a couple of times, and I had really pushed from the beginning, we could do a show here. And at first they were like, no, we could never pull that off. I was like, oh, we can, right? We've got the space. It's unique venue, would be really different. And I think the right first step in this relationship is let's have a show here. And we talked about it more. We built it out, thought about it, and we decided that's it, right? Like, let's take the brand of Revolution and the brand of Warrior Wrestling. Let's merge these fan bases, right? A lot of the wrestling fans love the beer. A lot of the beer fans love wrestling. Everybody loves kind of that nerd culture of characters and stories and cool designs and things. They had even had in the past some beers that were wrestling themed, and they just relaunched one about a month ago. And so it just kind of fit perfectly for everybody.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see the setup you guys got. I know it's a sellout for this particular event. How many people are you guys expected to have?
300 on the dot.
Oh, that's a lot more than I expected. That's awesome, man. Good for you.
Yeah, and we've had a lot of people asking, like, oh, are you sure there's not a few more? Like, we are at fire code. Like, nobody come in that isn't invited. We don't want to get shut down.
Are we invited?
Do you have tickets? Are you coming with Jeremy?
We are going to be working with Jeremy.
Okay, that's what I thought. Like, I thought you were on Jeremy's crew list, but seriously, like, that's legitimately, like, I have a lot of people who are like, oh, we're going to show up and help and be there. I was like, we've got an actual limit on this one, and we did not expect to sell out. I mean, we expected to sell it eventually, but we sold out in like 20 minutes. And we were like, is something wrong with the website? Like, no, the tickets flew. We were thrilled.
Yeah, I have a guy that I work with who just recently started to get into wrestling once again, and he's seen some of the work that you guys have done in the past. And he messaged me probably 2 days after you guys posted the link for tickets, and he was like, hey, are those still available? I go, no, dude, those things sold out in 20 minutes. So he kept nagging me. He's like, hey, is there any way you can get me in? I'm like, no, it's a hard cut.
So like my cousins, right? My cousins were like, oh, this is really cool. We want to come to your show. We'll pick up tickets this weekend. And then I had to text and be like, sorry, but they're gone. Like we don't even have space to get you on a list. Like, oh, these are my cousins. Like, they're gone.
Yeah, when family's not even making the cut, that he means business, people. So unfortunately, if you don't have tickets, you're not going to be there. But hey, us that are going to be in attendance are definitely going to have a great time. But one of the things I'm really excited about for this show specifically, Steve, is that unique venue that we talked about. But there's also a lot to be excited about in ring, including the return of Kylie Rae to Warrior as she faces off against Missa Kate. How excited are you to have Kylie back home at Warrior Wrestling? Because I know I'm ecstatic.
Oh, just thrilled. I mean, just first and foremost, as a human being, like, right, like we're excited about the show, but just as a human being, she is what you get, right? Like, what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm. She's one of the most wonderful, kind, positive, thoughtful, polite people you've ever, like, they're the first soul on the face of the earth. So just having her around, and Isaiah's her husband and their dog, and I don't know if they're bringing their baby. I don't think so. It's probably past his bedtime. But but just having her around, I think, is just a shot in the arm to the locker room and the production staff. And just, she literally is a ray of sunshine. That sounds super cliche and lame, but it's the truth. And then as a performer, there are few better. Like truly, when it comes to, and this is a little inside baseball, but when it comes to everything from timing and crispness and playing to the audience and making things exciting, I watch WWE and AEW and the New Japan Women's Division. I can count on one hand the number of female performers in the world who I think are on her level or above. I mean, she's that good. And so having her in the ring just elevates the quality of what we can present the audience.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
I was just going to say, Ian, she's a hometown girl too.
Yeah.
Coming back in Chicago. I can't wait to see what kind of reaction she gets.
Yeah, and Steve, I like how you mentioned
she's
how
beloved.
I like how you mentioned how even backstage she really is the character you see in the ring. Because I remember the first show that we had worked, I do believe she was the first wrestler that we had actually met and the first talent we met, and sweetheart from the beginning. But I do want to transition this into another person I've met backstage, and he's kind of shown a little bit of a twist in his character inside the ring. I mean, the last time we had seen Warhorse, he was the Slim Jim wheeling. He was everybody's favorite. He was the hottest topic. And now recently he's starting to turn on those fickle fans. And I just want to point this out. Do you think that's proving him any more beneficial in the ring? Do you think he has more of an edge, especially against a guy like Mike Bennett?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because when I heard about this change in Warhorse, the person in me who loved what he was doing, I was like, oh, don't change it. Like, it's perfect. Like the Slim Jims, the head banging, you want to bang heads with me, the elbow banging, I was like, it's perfect. Why would you change it? And then I watched his first match in this new iteration of himself. And it was like a wild brawl. He's like a feral dog in the ring. He wrestles like John Moxley or like Clark Connors from New Japan. He wrestles this kind of seemingly reckless, break your jaw, punch you in the face style. And the moment I watched that first match in the new persona, I went, got it. As much as I loved the Warhorse of old, this is a new level of intensity. And I know, because I know Mike Bennett well, he's been on our shows. I talked to him a ton. Mike wants to fight. Mike does not want a fun little match. Mike wants to get punched in the face, and he wants to punch people in the face. So I think this new Warhorse matches perfectly with what Mike Bennett wants in a match.
Yeah, I definitely think that could be a match of the night candidate for sure. Of course, all the matches are going to be fantastic, but Mike Bennett kind of has a new side to him as well because he's got some backing in AEW with the Undisputed Kingdom. So I think you're just going to see some hard-hitting action here, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely the slobber knocker match. This is the knock somebody's tooth into the third row match.
Hopefully we're in the third row and we can catch it as a souvenir or something like that. I don't know what the setup's going to be tomorrow, but hey, I'm looking forward to it. But obviously, the big name that has brought a lot of eyes onto this show specifically is Mustafa Ali, and he's been taking over the Indies and TNA, and now he is the TNA X Division champion, and he'll be facing a Warrior veteran in Trey Miguel, a guy that we've seen multiple times on your shows, but we know Ali is a Chicago man, so he's going to be looking to continue that momentum in front of his home crowd. Talk to me a little bit about how this match came about. How early did you reach out to Mustafa Ali, and what should we expect from these two in this match?
Yeah, so right away is the answer to how early. So when it was announced on, I think, maybe a Thursday morning that he was wrapping up with WWE for 90 days, he and I were emailing, I think, that afternoon. Because I don't know Ali personally. I know a ton of people he's trained through freelance, and I know a ton of people who have worked with him. And they'll speak, again, like Kylie, they speak of his character as a person. And we know how great of a performer he is, and we know how great of a missed opportunity it was with WWE and what they did or didn't do to showcase him. And so the moment he announced, people were texting me left and right, and I was like, already emailed him, already talking to him. It was just a matter of finding the right show and finding the right opponent. And to be honest, this whole show, date-wise and putting it together, revolved around this match because we knew we had Ali. and finding the right days that worked, because we wanted to deliver a match where Ali could show the world what he can do, and against an opponent who is also world class and is coming to steal the show as well. And once Trey the day up and it worked for the brewery, boom, the show was set for anything else put into place, because this match is what we built around.
Yeah, again, obviously, this is obviously most likely going to be the main event. I will jump to that conclusion now because I know
Correct.
caught the world's eyes. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to throw that out there without, but also another match I think, because you brought up the slobber knocker of Warhorse versus Mike Bennett, but another one that I think is a sleeper when it comes to the violence category is Violence Forever versus Latinos Most Wanted. I loved the vignette, by the way, by Latinos Most Wanted. They are really nice guys. Honestly, I think they are just misunderstood. They follow the rules, so I'm sure they will during this match. But I just want to bring up with Warrior Wrestling, you guys really seem to bring in a lot of golden tag teams. And when I say golden, I want to ask, Steve, do you think any tag team gold by Warrior could be brought up into the ranks?
Yeah, it's a possibility, right? We never say never. A couple of years back when we introduced the Lucha Libre Championship for Warrior, we had talked about tag titles. It's not impossible. I think we have to see, how does the tag team landscape in independent wrestling develop in 2024? How many teams are out there? What are the matches that we can make? Because the last thing you want to do is introduce a title or a division and not be able to give it justice. So we would need to take a look at the landscape and make sure, if that's a route we went on with our wrestling shows this year, that there's enough there to do it justice. But I think there might be, right? Grizzled young veterans have come back to the scene. Violence is Forever is really growing, and they've taken over GCW. You've got Latinos Most Wanted. You've got Bang and Menus. Like there's beginning to build this momentum in tag team wrestling. So I think it might be a possibility.
Yeah, there's sort of a renaissance in general on tag team wrestling, even in companies like the WWE, because for the past decade, they've kind of neglected, besides the Usos and the New Days, their tag division, but it seems like they're starting to heat up some people as well. So I just think the emphasis on tag team wrestling has never been at a higher point, which is exciting, because I don't know much about these two teams that we have here, Steve, but I'm expecting this one to be a fast-paced car crash type of match.
Absolutely. And that's what we love about tag team wrestling is it's exciting. You've got guys you're looking at, so there's a lot going on, but it just brings an energy with so many bodies flying around the ring that it's a change of pace from even the fastest singles match before or after it. The tag team match steps it up to a degree. And these are two really hungry teams. I've seen each of them have the match of the night in different promotions in different places. So putting them together and giving them free reign to go out there and tear the place down, we're really excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it as well. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Violence is Forever is working Saturday night in Indianapolis as well after that. So they got a busy weekend ahead of them, I believe. I'll be making that road trip as well, Steve. It's quite the weekend.
Oh, nice.
Putting in the work.
I'm hitting up everybody. But hey, Warrior still got my heart. Look at the T-shirt.
There you go. I see it. And you're not...
You cut out a little bit for me, Steve. What'd you say?
Oh, I said, and if you want, you can go down to North Carolina on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
You did get the invite for that. I don't know if you'll be making that trip.
Yeah. Speaking of, give me 5 seconds. I want to change my wireless networks. That might help the connection. So I'm not going anywhere. Just give me 5 seconds to switch wireless networks.
Yep, perfect.
Sounds good. We'll take you off the screen for a little bit, but yeah, we got a couple more matches we still got to talk about. Make sure, I should say, to follow Warrior Wrestling on all the socials. You see the handle down below. They're going to be having their show, of course, tomorrow in Chicago. I don't think it's available on YouTube or anything like that. I'm sure Steve will be able to correct me if I'm wrong. But once he gets his internet all situated, we can ask him, of course. But Steve,
I'm back.
You?
Yep.
Perfect.
So maybe you can answer that question for me then. This will not be broadcasted anywhere, correct?
No, and that's one of the things that we talked about years back in 2018 when we were first getting started. We were one of the first indie promotions of that boom to be live on high spots. And then when Fight TV came back into having wrestling, we were one of the second wrestling promotion in the country to be live on Fight TV. And at that time, we wanted to be at the forefront, streaming, be out there, be something special. Now everybody is streaming, right? Like if you and I had a wrestling match in your backyard, we could watch it somewhere. And in a way that makes it less special. And so we talked about what are some things we could do differently in 2024. So we're experimenting with this idea of we're not going to stream. You've got to be there live. And we're going to record it. We might be able to release the match, some matches after or clips or that kind of thing. So it will exist, or it's not going to be lost to the bin of history. But that night, you got to be there. And we want to get back to that feeling of wrestling, of you have to be in the building, because I think so much wrestling now is like, I'm going to miss it, but I'll watch clips the next day. I'll do whatever. Or I'm not going to go down there. I'll just stream it, have it on my computer in the background or whatever. We are about live event. That is our bread and butter. So we want to make an experience almost like a speakeasy. Like you've got to be there and you're like, oh, how was it? Like, you had to be there. You know what I mean?
Got to be in the know. Got to be one of the 300. And thankfully, you have let us be one of those 300. So thank you.
There you go.
Another singles match we got on the card is with Sam Beal versus Jason Hotch. Now, he, I know, is a part of the TNA roster as well. And I've seen Sam work before. I think he's done a couple battle royals or some dark matches with you guys, but I haven't seen Jason work. If there's someone like me, I should say, in attendance that doesn't know much about Jason or Sam, what can we see here between these two guys?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start with Sam. Total frat bro, like natty light incarnate, just curly haired, obnoxious dude from Toledo, Ohio. But trained by Trey Miguel and a very damn good wrestler. Same thing with Jason Hotch. His nickname's Top Notch Jason Hotch for a reason. He's a guy who is quick. He's strong. You see this guy and you go, oh, that's a wrestler, right? Like he's got every tool that a wrestler needs to be a huge success. And so part of the reason we put this match together, we worked with each of these guys before. They've really impressed us. They have each gotten little bits of opportunities here and there, but we wanted them to be on this show to show what they can do. And also in a way it ties into the main event because they're both trained by Trey Miguel. And so we're going to have so many people on the show or backstage who are trained by Ali. Here's a couple of guys that were trained by Trey. So this idea of the masters in the main event and their students and mentees throughout the card, like Latinos Most Wanted, trained by Ali. Sam Beal and Jason Hotch, trained by Trey. So there's a little bit of a layer there in the card of the senseis and their students.
That's cool.
I love that. I wish that was more of a thing because honestly, that's you could build an entire pay-per-view around that. Really, in all honesty, but I love that. I just want to ask you, Steve. This is my last question that I have personally, and I think it really cuts deep into my psychology of Warrior Wrestling and where I see it as. It's a question about the man, the myth, the legend, Trevor Outlaw. I need to ask you, Steve. When will you finally allow Mr. Outlaw the moment to shine? And why are you holding him back so much?
I think that is a fair question. And I agree. We have been holding him back. But that ends tomorrow night. Because tomorrow night, he has an open challenge. And we're going to add a couple of wrinkles to that open challenge before we bring out his opponent. We're going to maybe add a stipulation to that challenge. We're going to maybe raise the stakes of that challenge to make Trevor Outlaw's match arguably the most important match on the show. And, I wasn't going to do this. I was going to let it be a pure surprise, but I'll just give you guys in your audience right now a little glimpse of, what is that? What was that there? That might be an interesting wrinkle to tomorrow night. So I tell you this, Trevor Outlaw will have opportunity. Question is, will he seize it?
Oh, I have no doubt about that in my mind. I think it's just anything you put in front of Trevor Outlaw, it's like setting it up on a tee in baseball. He's going to hit it. He's going to absolutely smash it.
How much is Trevor paying you, Ian?
None at all. None at all.
Can you believe
FTC, I am looking for a job, so hit me up.
There you go. Hey, shoot or shoot. My final question for you, Steve, and we've talked about how we've had the opportunity to work with Warrior multiple times in the past, including tomorrow night, but what do we need to do to work at Warrior? How about we get Mr. OTM, myself, versus Ian on the card? What do I got to do to get a match?
Well, man, train, number one. I think that's important. And I think number two, whoa. Hey, it's a family show. You can't be showing everybody the meat, which sounded way worse than it was.
Don't clip that. Don't clip that. Anyway.
Don't clip that. Yeah, Arby's. We have the meats. I think it's provides something unique and crazy and weird and different, right? We've had James Ellsworth versus Hornswoggle with Frank the Clown as the guest referee on a Warrior show. So it's not like everything needs to be Ali versus Trey. But we're always looking for something different, something weird. So let's find something weird and let's get weird.
I'll tell you something. I'm not going to give you the name of the promotion, but back in the day, I had a garage wrestling company.
Ooh.
And I've had my fair share of matches on 2 mattresses. So I kind of know what I'm doing. I'm just throwing that out there. I can maybe show you some clips tomorrow or something.
I think you're ready to attempt a 450.
I will also bring up the fact that Mr. OTM over here has had his nose broken by a GTS in the middle of a ring. So he's off to a good track record.
Steve,
you know what? Haven't we all? Yes, please. Hit me.
So I interned for the Gary Railcats when I was in college, the independent baseball team here in Northwest Indiana.
I'm very familiar.
They had a midget wrestling night there, and they had a ring right behind home plate. So I straight up went up to the guy that runs the company. I said, what do I have to do to get me and another intern in this ring? He goes, I'll give you a dark match in front of your coworkers right now. So the guy gets on the intercom, our PA announcer, does the introductions. We get themes and everything. I work an 8-minute match, absolutely winded. And the finish is me taking a GTS. I took it so well, I ended up fracturing my nose, bleeding all over the ring, and they were not happy with me.
Yeah. Ouch.
So, yeah, I won't be stepping back in the ring.
No.
He's retired.
Well,
and
the GTS is one of those moves that is high risk, potential high danger because you end up with a knee to your nose, right? Like it is a very high precision move. And even CM Punk, who's been doing it for 15, 16 years, he still gets people in the nose and the jaw and the orbital bone sometimes. It's a really hard move to pull off.
Yes, it is. And it's hard to sell, but I think I sell it well. And our Vogus, who has attended multiple Warrior shows, he said, and this is why Steve won't give you 2 a match.
Yeah, we're not getting people hurt in the middle of the ring. Sorry.
That's fair.
Actually,
you just got one last thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Steve, I do have one more question. I want to get back to the main topic that we should be discussing, and that's Trevor Outlaw. I also will bring up our good friend Jeremy Tillema. He is the head referee at Warrior Wrestling. I just want to bring this up, Steve. How much money would it take for Trevor Outlaw to knock out Jeremy the Ref Tillema?
How much would you need to pay me, or would we need to pay Jeremy? What's the question here?
I'll give you $1,000 for it to happen.
So you give us $1,000, and Trevor knocks out Jeremy.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair deal.
All right, deal.
Okay, deal done. PayPal us tonight, and we'll book that match for tomorrow.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah, it'll be there. Be there really quick.
But hey, Steve, I appreciate your time. I don't want to take too much of it because you got a busy day, obviously, ahead of you tomorrow. But is there anything else on the horizon that we should keep our eyes out on? I know you guys typically run some shows in the summertime. Will we be seeing that here this year?
Yeah, so we're not sure yet. We're not sure what the rest of the year looks like. We're taking some time to kind of reimagine or think about what the Warrior Wrestling identity looks like in 2024. In the meantime, the focus for this show is just doing an absolute bang up job for Revolution tomorrow. And we hope to see more of these type of shows, maybe at Revolution, maybe at some other breweries in some other cities. We've got some guests that are coming to scout it out tomorrow. This could be the pilot of a new way of doing some shows. So we'll see how it works, right? We've got to execute. It's got to go well. But Yeah, so not sure what summer holds or what the future holds, but right now we think this brewery concept has a lot of legs. So we're going to see what happens with it.
For sure. Can't wait to see what's coming next. But for now, trouble is brewing. Tomorrow night, live from Revolution Brewing in Chicago, will be Warrior Wrestling. It has returned. I am excited. I wasn't able to make your last show. Neither was Ian, but we're going to be there. I'm going to be there a little early. Ian might be a little late because the full-time job and stuff.
Well,
it's not going to be a lot of sleep.
Ian, you got anything else for Steve?
No, Steve, I just want to give you just publicly all the credit in the world. You are living a lot of guys' dreams and a lot of adults' dreams, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And you should be really proud of what you've created because, man, what you have there at Warrior Wrestling is something special, and it really is brought to life in screen, and especially if you have the pleasure of making it in person, it's incredible stuff. So thank you so much for your time on here.
We'd
love to have you back at some point.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. I would love to hang out and talk wrestling with you guys. And obviously, I love to do that. So we're excited to have you guys tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoy the show, and let's do it again.
Yeah, for sure. So ladies and gentlemen, that was Steve from Warrior Wrestling. Steve, I'm sure we will be talking to you. Actually, yeah, we will be talking to you soon in person tomorrow night. So
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
see you there. Hey, next beer's on me, my friend. Next beer's on me.
Deal. Good night, guys.
All right. See you,
Good
Steve.
night.
That was awesome. That was a good time, Ian.
Yeah, he truly is a wrestling fan. Like I said, man, he's living everybody's dream that is a wrestling fan to run your own company. You're basically playing with action figures. Like I said it with Tony Khan, how he plays with action figures in AEW because he doesn't know how to book. This guy named Steve, he knows how to book, and he does a great job doing so. And he's just picking out the hottest talent in the indies. And it seriously, guys, if you are around the Chicago area, even Michigan area, and you see Warrior Wrestling is running a show nearby, do yourself a pleasure and go.
Absolutely. And it's pretty incredible, too, because this card was supposed to feature AEW Sky Blue, Queen Aminata. Things had to get moved around because they have prior obligations with AEW. But we still are getting a phenomenal card.
Mm-hmm.
6 matches, going to run for about 2.5 hours to 3 hours. Of course, you're going to have those casuals there because there's going to be the people there just drinking, which is fine. But, of course, you're going to have your diehards.
What?
You're going to have us.
What?
OTM, Warrior Wrestling, handshake emoji. Any final remarks, Ian?
I've got nothing. I got a long day tomorrow. I'm probably going to be cashing out here within the next 15 minutes. But again, there is no MVM, as you can see for the audio listeners. No MVM this week. You guys can't even win. I don't even know why I'm saying that because you're not live. And if you're not listening live or watching live, what are you doing? But anyway, that's all I got.
Don't forget, this weekend at our website, theonthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com, if you use promo code REVOLUTION, you will save 10% off your order, which means you can also get Main Event Wrestling Network merch at mainevent_net. And of course, don't forget to follow Warrior Wrestling on all the socials. They're on X, they're on Facebook, they are on Instagram, they are on YouTube. Subscribe. Because like Steve said, it is not going to be broadcasted, but there will be clips that could be potentially uploaded. And from the looks of things, I'm saying look back around the 59-minute mark, guys. He did tease a little something, an OTM exclusive here for episode 184. But as our co-host says, Jim Tucker, it is a great time to be a wrestling fan. And thank you, everybody, for listening to the On the Mark Wrestling
Podcast.